Yo, niaje. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this once more. So today's gonna be a very interesting topic. Do you know how expensive it is to be poor? No, I don't think you understand. Do you understand how difficult it is to run a business when you don't have steady income, when you don't have steady cash flow? That's what we're gonna be diving into today. And so take this journey with me. So let's just start. How many of you have $1 billion in your account to start a business? Nah, I don't think so. Many people do businesses because of necessity. Maybe they couldn't find a job. Maybe that's the only thing they could do. Maybe they don't have the required education to get a good job, or maybe they want to get a lot of money quickly and they think that the best way to do this is for them to start a business, go into entrepreneurship. And there has been a boom in entrepreneurship over the past 10 years. Many courses are teaching it. A lot of governments are pushing people towards it. Let's not even talk about the online entrepreneurship in terms of content creation, in terms of things like forex and things like that. It's a space that now everyone wants to go to. So what we do in Hopewell and what I do personally is to give tips to business executives, business people, entrepreneurs on how to grow their business, how to manage it. And right now in these sessions, I am teaching you some things that I have learned on at times why businesses don't work, why some work. Today we're going to talk about how expensive it is to be poor, and what it actually means. What's the cost of you not having cash flow, or you not having adequate money in your business? So just on the onset, do you know that usually for the poorer people in the economy, they get those loan, it's called loan day, payday loans. You go to your, if you're in Kenya, you go to your Mshwari, you go to your Tala. If you're in the UK, you go to those these sites, and they tell you that they can give you money today if you need it today. Usually the credit that they give you is almost 400%. I'm telling you, 200 to 400%. Do you know for rich people, it can go as low as 0%. Yes, I've said it, 0% APR. Just think about that. Now, the first thing we're gonna talk about is this. Let's take you're doing a cooking business. So you wanna cook some snacks. You wanna maybe bake cakes. You're doing a small cooking business that you want to sell online to your followers. Maybe they can call you. You can deliver to them, something like that. If you don't have a lot of money, you will start buying things in smaller quantities, and this goes for every business. If you're doing a product business where you're actually selling things, you have to buy things to make what you're selling. And if you don't have access to a lot of money, you'll be doing that in small quantities. That in the end, that's just pure economics. It'll end up costing you a lot more because you don't have the advantage of buying things in bulk, because you don't have the money to buy things in bulk. So things are already going wrong from the word go. You're buying things in small quantities, meaning your profit margins are really low, because you don't want to increase prices of what you're doing and outprice yourself from an industry, especially when you're just coming in, as a newcomer, as someone who's just starting up. You want to price low because you want it to be like a bargaining chip, because you really can't say quality because no one has actually used your stuff to say that it's quality. You get what I mean? So the moment you start buying things in small quantities, it's a lot more expensive for you. So that's just that. And let me give you an example for that, what happened in my business. So I ventured into wall art, and at the time it was a very good idea for me, because different from doing portrait photography, you get paid by the hour, or you get paid for the photos. Wall art is different. Wall art, you go, if you're a good photographer, you're a good photographer. And I was a brilliant landscape photographer, still am. I would go take photos on my own time when I'm visiting places, especially that time I was in Kenya, when I'm visiting Kerio Valley, when I'm visiting, the hills, the escarpments. I would take good photos. Then I would come, I had a website. So I would come, edit the photos, put them in the website, and then sell it as wall art. The idea was wall art goes for slightly a more expensive price. So what I would get by the hour for just doing regular photography, I could get like 3 days worth of work by just selling one piece of wall art. That was the idea. I wanted to go away from this subsistence living that I was doing at that time, where I need to work. If I don't work, I am broke. I wanted to get away from that. And so the pictures were good, editing was good. I got some experts who could frame it for me, and that was good. Now the problem now came in looking for the customers. What I had to learn at that point in time was, you have an assumption of how rich people will buy your things. And let me just say, you shouldn't be having any of those assumptions in mind, especially if you're not rich. And at that point, I was not. So I couldn't afford the things that I was selling. Personally, I couldn't afford them. But I had an idea on who this persona might be, what they might want to spend, in how I'm supposed to talk to them. And it was a little bit off, yeah. You don't know what you don't know. And so it was hard selling it online. I did sell a little bit, and the pay was good because it was a bulk pay and it gives you motivation. But selling high ticket things takes a longer time. It takes a longer time. Those are some things I didn't know. And it takes a lot of touch points. You have to talk to them, you have to convince them. And sometimes they have to see that you are at their level, and I was not at that level. So it was a slightly harder thing for me. So since I am good at business development, I decided to walk around and I found myself at a very high-end mall. And I found out that on Fridays they had an art sale. So they could come, you could sell your stuff, and getting a table, you got it for some money. At that point in time, it was around 5,000 Kenya shillings. So I used, I think it was like, was it 5,000 or 3, whatever the price. It was a good amount of money for me to get a table. So I used all the money I had to print. Before, I used to print on order, but now I was like, I'm going to this big mall, host who is coming to this mall. I didn't consider that I also go to that mall and I don't have money, and some of my friends also go to that mall because they want to window shop and they don't have money. But I wasn't thinking like that. So this mall attracts who is who in the society. I use all my money to get different wallet, different sizes, big ones, beautiful ones, and we set up. And I'm telling you, the whole day I was there sweating, pressure. 11, people are just coming and saying, this is nice. By that time you're angry. You don't want people to tell you this is nice. You want people to buy. Why are you telling me it's nice? Come and buy. 2, 3, 4. Oh my goodness. No one bought that day. I said, what? I've spent a lot of money. I'll come the next day. So I paid again. Came the next day. Same thing. People were coming and they were like, let me take your number. This is nice. Do you have this in a bigger size? I'm like, yeah. You don't even have money to produce in a bigger size, but you're like, yeah. If you pay a deposit, of course. I didn't sell the next day. And I didn't have any money left. I honestly did not have any money left. So I took my wallet, called a good friend of mine called Domi, kanipiga nduthi, went on a motorbike and went home. Very frustrated. And I remember on the last day I was there with me, my wife, and my daughter was young then. The whole day I guess you could even see the desperation in my eyes. I wasn't able to sell it. Now, the person in charge of that space was very kind to me, and he told me, hey, young man, come here. Your things are expensive. I didn't know he was teaching me a very, very valuable lesson, but I didn't get it at that time. He was like, your things are expensive. You need to come here more often. People need to see you, and then they'll trust you, and then they'll start buying from you. These are the people, their things are not as good as yours, but they are going for 1/10 of the price that yours is going for. So he told me to come again for free. And I went, and more people were coming and looking at it. But honestly, at that point in time, I didn't have any more money to come and pay to be there and to come and, people to see me as a regular person. I didn't have that amount of money. So I had to go back to selling it online, that one-off client here and there. And anyway, I got another way of selling it. That is a story for another day when I went into hotels and stuff. But the point is, I came to learn years later that if I had stayed and gone there every day for 2-3 weeks, I would have started selling. And slowly my money would have come back, and I would have a very steady source of income. What I was thinking, my vision was right. I just didn't have the money to give me runway, we call it runway. You see, like when an airplane wants to go, it needs to get a runway so that it can lift. I didn't have money for runway because I was doing business. I was doing very vulnerable businesses. I needed this thing to work so that I can eat tonight. If I do not sell a photo today, I'm not eating. My people are not eating today. I'm not paying rent today. And if you are doing business with that amount of pressure and with limited resources so that you don't have a runway, it might fail. It might actually fail. Now, a quick fact for you. 38% of businesses in the UK close in the first 1 year because they run out of cash. 38%. 60% in 3 years because they just don't have money. In the first year, 38%. By the time it's 3 years, 60%. 60% of businesses in the UK absolutely close down because, they don't have money, they don't have runway. And it's not because their businesses are not brilliant. It's not because they don't have good ideas. A lot of people have very, very, very good ideas, but they just don't have the money to sustain themselves. During this period when you need to set up your business, it's gonna be slow. You're gonna do a lot of admin work. You're gonna, let me give you an example. At Hopewell, one of the first lessons I came to learn is for you to close a good B2B business deal, it takes you around 6 months. 6 months of continually meeting the client and talking to them and going for this, let's have tea, let's have coffee, here's an email. Oh my, 6 months. 6 months for you to get any money in the table. I really hope you don't become part of the statistics of the 60%, but what I'm also telling you is sometimes it's not your fault. And it's even harder for different demographics, different populations, if you're from a poorer demographic, if you're an immigrant, if you don't have access to education, if you don't have access to credit. And that's why in a larger scale, and this is a conversation we can have maybe later on, in a larger scale, that's why you see some communities are richer than other communities. It's not because they understand things more. It's not because they are better gifted, they are brighter, It's just access to money. access to credit, access to a runway, access to an ability of, telling you, you know what, try, give it a try for 1 year and then we'll see. You won't die. I'm here. I got you. The banks tell you, I got you. For someone like me, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that your idea will work. And even when you do that, you might not even get the money. So sometimes it just is what it is. That's why it's just what it is. And you have to work extra hard to get out of that slump. It's a journey that never ends. Now, you remember when I said about when I told you about when I was there and doing it and I had so much pressure? Of course that affects how whether you'll get money, whether people will buy from you. If people sense that you need this paycheck to survive, I don't know, it just is what it is. They will not buy. Or they might now, the bargaining power is the power dynamic is shifted towards them, so they will get it for a lower price. But you ask yourself, how do you project that you are well off when you are actually struggling, when you are actually you're like, I really need to make this sale? How can you not come with this desperation when you're actually desperate? That's something for psychologists to tell us. I think it just shows. Sometimes it just shows, and at times you just need to accept the place that you are. Now, if you're running a business with so much stress and with so much pressure, what will happen is, even in your running of the business, some things will not work. You will end up missing deadlines. You will end up, since you're so stressed, you won't talk to the right clients. You won't follow up. You won't follow up in the right way. You'll come off as desperate, and all these things are you're almost geared to fail. Now, there was a study that was done in Princeton, and it said that people who are in poor demographics and who are chronically stressed all the time, their cognitive ability reduces by 13 points in the IQ scale. 13 points. That is significant. That is the equivalent of you not sleeping, of you losing a day of sleep every day. 13 points. Yeah. It is expensive being poor, I'm telling you. It will affect everything. It will affect your mental health. It will affect your cognitive ability. It will affect your business. It will affect everything. Everything. Now, final statistics that I'll throw to you today. For things like rent, food, transport, poorer people use 50 to 60% of their income for this. No, let me run it back. Poorer people pay 50 or 60% for this, and richer people only pay 30% for this, because life is just expensive when you're poor. You'll not buy things in bulk, so you won't get benefits. You will live, if you're living in affordable housing, the transport to that place might be expensive. It might be farther from the city. You might be paying more money for water and things like that, for the amenities. Everything is geared for you to remain poor, and that's just how capitalism works. So today, if you're going to do a business, it's good for you to know these things. I'm not telling you these things so that you don't venture into businesses, but I'm telling you these things because you need to appreciate that there's a law of action and reaction. And if these things are true, if you are in this demographic that you're living hand to mouth and you have entrepreneurial dreams, then try to research about grants. Try to research about very low interest loans. Try to see if you can get support from people who can, loan you money. Friends and family can loan you money, and you can repay it over a longer period of time. The point is, you need to understand what you're getting into and why it can fail, actually you need to understand what you're getting into and why it is more likely to fail for you. And the moment you understand that, then you understand what things are tipped against you and what you need to do so that you can make it work. Yeah, it just is what it is, and I think knowledge is important, Anyway, in the comments, tell me what you think about that. Have I depressed you today? Or have you felt like you've learned something? For those people who are business owners, entrepreneurs, I wish you all the best, all the grace. Follow us for more. We'll give you tips on now. With that having said that, what can you do? What things can you do to make sure that you're earning more money? How can you communicate value to your clients so that you can maybe charge them a little bit more? How can you take advantage of things which are there and you maybe can get for free and can take your business a whole level? How can you do branding? How can you brand yourself better so that you are not communicating you're not communicating as if you are very desperate. You're not communicating desperation, but it's good to know what you're working with so that you can just know. You just know then what to do. Anyway, guys, logging out. See you. Boom boom. Stay dangerous.